$100 par preferred stock and 30,000 shares of $10 par common stock outstanding. Each class of shareholders for each of the following. Okay, we need to determine the amount of dividends to be paid to each class of shareholders for each of the following independent assumptions. Preferred stock is non-participating and non-cumulative. What does it mean if something isn't cumulative?
There's no arrears.
There's no arrears. So in A, for Part A, we would pay $20,000 in preferred dividends to the preferred stock, and the rest goes to the common stock. Does that make sense? How many of you guys get that? Okay. B, the B set says preferred stock is non-participating and cumulative. Preferred dividends are 2 years in arrears at the beginning of the year. So what does that mean we need to do, guys? Dividends in arrears, they're 2 years in arrears, right? Is that right? So 40,000 is in arrears. We would have 20,000 right now, which would give 60,000. How much does that mean we've got available for common? Does that make sense? Could you do problems like this? What are we learning here? The preferred stock makes it very clear what their guaranteed stock dividend is when they pay them. And you know, if they are in arrears, they're going to get all those arrears first, right? Now C states preferred stock is fully participating and cumulative. Preferred dividends are 1 year in arrears at the beginning of the year. So what are we going to do there for this one? What do you guys think? 1 year in arrears, right, would be 20,000. For this year, 20,000, right? And what does it mean if they're participating, guys? Do you guys know what that means? If it's participating, preferred stock is participating, they're going to share in with the participating means what the preferred stock gets, the common stock is going to get also. Okay? So if the preferred shares receive 20,000 each, or 10% of their value each, what is going to be the common stock value? How many are out there? What does it tell us? 30,000 shares at $10 par common stock. Do you see that? So if we look here, we would have 30,000 at $10 at 10% participating. So what the preferred shares do, we're going to do common stock the same. What's that going to be? 10% of 30,000 shares at $10 a share. 30,000. Now what are we doing? The rest we share between each. How are we going to do that? How much is going to get shared, guys? 10,000 is left to get shared. How are we going to share that? Okay, let's go down here and figure out how we're going to share this. If we have, excuse me, I can't type it there. The remainder should be shared at, for preferred, 2,000 shares. Here, let me open up another screen here. So we're going to have here 2,000 shares at, okay, let me back up. We've got 10,000 extra bucks, right? We have 10,000 extra dollars we can use. How can I make this one bigger? you'll know that working on a computer is not my. Maybe I need to save this sucker also. There. Sorry. So we have $10,000 we're going to have to share between both of them, okay? So that extra dividend, we're going to calculate that extra dividend by determining, we have how many shares of preferred stock? 2,000. How much are they a share? $100 a share, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to divide all of that by the 2,000 times $100 a share plus 30,000 times $10 a share. Okay, because that's our preferred shares. Those are our common shares, right?
Is that because it's participating?
It's participating. That's why we're doing this. Normally we wouldn't. It's been non-participating in the past. So they're participating in the additional dividend. See? That's a way you can remember it. If it's non-participating, preferred share gets their money and they're done. If it's participating, they get their share, then they're going to, the extra amount, the common stock's going to get the same amount, and then they're going to share that extra. So the 2,000 shares times 100 shares, or times $100, divide that by all the stock outstanding. It's going to, if you calculate that, so basically 20,000 or 200,000. Let's just figure this out. 200,000. We're dividing that by 200,000 plus 300,000, right? Or 500,000. Am I making sense? Equals $4,000, right? You guys get that? So we know, guys, that the amount that the preferred is going to get is 4,000, and the amount that common's going to get is 6,000. Make sense? 36. Now, guys, we could go back here and do that same thing. I could do the same thing for the common stock, and we're going to get the same results. 10,000, and then we would say the 30,000 shares times $10. Get what I'm doing? Divided by that is going to be 300,000 divided by 500 or 6,000. Do you guys get what I'm doing here? Yes.
So is this supposed to be 500,000 on the denominator, or because 300,000 divided by 500,000 is 6?
This is 0.6.
Instead of the 10,000 is 6,000.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
So it basically shows us what percent of that dividend gets shared for preferred and what gets shared for common. How many of you guys get what I'm doing here? Does it make sense? Does it help to do this together?
Yes.
I can talk on a PowerPoint and just, yeah, but then when you get the nitty gritty, it's like, yeah, I get it. Instead of being conceptual, it becomes practical. Got it? So does that make sense for you guys? Are we wasting time doing these, or do you enjoy doing these?
This is awesome. But wouldn't it be 44,000 on the other side? Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
64,000. What am I doing wrong?
The 20, 20, and the 4 adds up to 44,000 because the 2 should tie out to the 80, right?
I would like to tell you I did that on
Nope,
purpose.
it's all good. I just want to make sure.
But I'm not going to lie, because guess what?
We like the truth.
Let me tell you, if I don't have my calculator, there are going to be errors. Okay, when I had to take the CPA exam, you couldn't have calculators back then.
Wow.
And thank God you can't. Thank God now you can take one exam at a time, you know, or one part of it at a time. They make it so much more manageable now. So yes, if I don't have my calculator, you're going to have to help me. Okay, number 2. How are we doing, guys? I'm going to ask you that probably too often, and you're going to get sick of it. For 1A, compare the dividend yield on the preferred stock and the common stock. What the heck are they asking? What do they mean dividend yield, guys? Dividends per share divided by market price per share. So how are we going to handle this one, guys? How are we going to do this? What is the preferred stock? 20,000 divided by 2,000, right? 20,000 is the, oh, stop it. Okay, let me go over here. Back to my sheet. For number 2, how are we going to figure this? We've got $20,000 in preferred stock. Divide that by 2,000 shares, right, for 1A, okay? So that basically divided that by how many dollars per share is it? 100?
The preferred stock is 100 and then the common is
10. It has 2,000 shares at 10%, $100 par. What's the preferred stock market value? 125. Thank you. So if we divide that by the market value, $20,000 divided by 2,000 shares divided by the market value, what's that going to equal? $2. Divide that by $20, or what's the percent? $2 divided by, $10 divided by 125, and that's 8% there. So what's the yield there? What's the yield on preferred? How are we going to do common? The same way, guys. 60,000, divide that by 30,000 shares, and we're going to divide that by the market value. And what's the market price right now? $20 a share. Do you see? The par value is that initial price it was issued for. But the par value isn't always the market value. It's very seldom ever the market value, isn't it? Do you guys get what I'm asking? But we're trying to find out how this dividend relates to today's market value. So if the market value is at $20 a share, then what are we going to do? $2 divided by how much? 20. What's this yield? Do you guys get it? The common stock yield is actually greater in this case than the preferred stock yield. Do we want to go back and understand how we did that again? So we're taking the amount of dividends, dividing it by the number of shares to come up with an amount per share, but then we're dividing that by the market value. Now we know the price at par was 10% because that's what it said. But at market value, it's 125, so it's going to be lower. Yet the common stock, we're doing it the same way. There's a lot more common stock shares, they're valued at less, but it's a higher yield per stock. So they're getting a 10% dividend based on the market value. How many of you guys get what I'm doing right here? Okay, I'm going to let you know something.